Hello, everyone listening over on YouTube and on Spotify. Welcome to Creativity Worth Expressing. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today's episode is my interview with artist Gregory Johnson. He is a fantastic doodler. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Doodler. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode. And at the end, you will find some links to where you can check out more of the awesome work, art by our guest, Gregory Johnson. So without further ado, please enjoy this interview. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creativity Worth Expressing. I am your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today I'm here with special guest, Gregory Johnson. Greg, thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's an honor to have you on the show. And before we even get started, can you tell the audience where you're coming from?
I live in a little suburb called Willowick, Ohio, which is about 20 minutes from downtown Cleveland, in the beautiful state of Ohio.
Excellent. And to now get us started, what is your form of creativity?
I am an artist, visual artist. I guess I've been thinking about this for a while because I can't really define it very well, but it's kind of like doodling with practice, with training. So
Okay.
I just create images that sort of create themselves and use me as the medium, I suppose.
Is there a moment or event which sparked your interest in doodling?
It was my dad. I've got a background. My family, my Polish immigrants on my mother's side of the family were muralists, and they did a mural in the Terminal Tower and things like that. So I had this interest. My dad was also kind of a hobbyist in art, and he saw the way I like to just doodle, and he used to bring forms back from his office, and I just drew on the back. So he encouraged me to do that. The more I did it, the better I got. I guess that's true with everything. And he encouraged it every step of the way. So then I decided to pursue it by going to art school when I graduated high school. So I would credit my dad more than anybody else.
Was there any doubt that art was going to be something that you'd be falling in love with, or did you know full on right away that you loved art?
Unfortunately, I knew full on right away. I was soon to be, I was soon to be discouraged in that. I remember I talked to I was 13 years old. I remember this distinctly. I was talking to my doctor. I was in for some kind of physical. And he said, so what are you going to do? What do you want to be? I said, I'm going to be an artist. And he shook his head at me. He said, there are two types of people that are not appreciated in this world. One is musicians and the other is artists. So I was like, hey, what are you talking about? And it's actually really, really true. I found out that I was in a very difficult and very competitive atmosphere, and I really wasn't quite ready for that.
When the doctor told you that, were you a bit discouraged?
I thought he was full of crap, to tell you the truth. He was actually quite right. But now that I look at it, I'm 70 years old now, and I look at it and I realize that that's to be appreciated is a mistake as an artist. You can't work to be appreciated. You have to do it for yourself. But I had to go through some hard knocks before I came to that realization.
How did your creativity evolve from doodling on the back of forms to which way did you go from there, from high school?
I was uh, I was encouraged by high school teachers. I even remember the teacher's name is Mr. Bontempo. He praised what I was doing. So whenever I could take elective art classes in high school, I did that. I also discovered there were other artists that were better than me. But I knew that I wanted to do this in some capacity. And so I said to myself, well, how do I do this? How do I increase my knowledge? Of course, in high school, they give you uh, ideas for schools and things like that. The Cleveland Institute of Art still exists in Cleveland. It's highly, highly upper strata in terms of art schools. It's really renowned. It's world renowned, certainly renowned in the country. I didn't even try to apply there. There's another one called Cooper School of Art, which is in this top two floors of this 1920s building. And they're sort of like the second cousin of the Cleveland Institute. I thought, well, that'd be a good place to start for somebody as needing of improvement as I was. So I was working at a gas station back in the days when you weren't allowed to pump your own. I saved up money, and after 2 years, I applied to Cooper, and they accepted me. And then reality really started to dawn. There's more to art than just doodling. There's a lot more to it. I learned so much in such a short time. Composition, what anatomy, life drawing, what illustration means. I took my major was illustration, texture, line, grayscales, all this stuff. I had no idea at all. There was so much more to it than I thought. Matter of fact, there was so much that it ended up uh, kind of overwhelming me. So after about a year and a half, I actually quit. I realized I'm not going to make it doing this, and that was a tough realization because I don't know what the hell else to do. It's what I do. It's what I'm best at, and to this very day. So I went about trying to be a freelance illustrator after that, and I had some success. And also, I delved a little bit into freelance cartooning, which would inform my work from that point on. But I stopped taking it seriously. And it wasn't until I started doodling again that it woke up. But the business of art and what's necessary, especially now more than ever, requires a great deal of persistence, a great deal of discipline and hard work and suffering, which as a 20 something, I just didn't have at the time. It took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah, it sounds like going to art school. It really stretched you when it came
Yeah.
to the work and the skills and also the anatomy and all these things, which is like basics on steroids, just pushing
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's right.
but for you, do you feel that while it was stretching you, do you feel that it was taking you away from what you really loved about art?
Exactly. You hit it right on the head. It sucked the joy right out of it for me. I wasn't happy doing it. It was a combination of so many people that were better than me, which can be very discouraging, and a general feeling, a general immaturity as well. But I didn't know why I wanted to do art. I just didn't know why. It took me 30 years to realize why I do it. So I just went out into the world, got a job, got married, and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't until I got back to doodling that I discovered the joy that you referred to, the real joy.
And how'd you get back into doodling?
Uh, since I was a freelance illustrator, I had all these materials. I had Bristol board, which is a high quality sort of tag board, which you use for illustrating. I also had illustration board. I had all these markers, basically magic markers, a whole rainbow. Back in the analog days, before computers, you had to indicate layouts of how you wanted your work to be, and you used markers, and you submitted that to the client, and then they would okay it or not, and then you do the final product. And there was no email, there was no anything. It was all done with in real time with materials. These things were laying around. This Bristol board was laying around, and I remember sitting at a table and just watching television, I suppose, and just starting to doodle. And it's kind of like how you doodle when you're on the phone, you're talking to somebody, you doodle on your blotter or whatever. It was kind of like that, but this was different because I had the training. So I'm doing it with composition in mind. I'm doing it with texture, with flow, keeping the eye moving, doing all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, just letting my hand go. And what happened was I realized that I was tapping into something of the subconscious, of the unconscious, and all the difficulties, all the inner pains and demons and so forth, and then the joys and happinesses that bubbled up into our real life and here in this dimension. I was tapping into a different way to express those things. And it was really therapeutic, and it still is to this day. And also kind of freaking weird. My stuff was weird, and it still tends to be on the weird side because I'm going to places that I wouldn't ordinarily go to, and people don't ordinarily go to. I tend to be an introvert, and so I go inside, and it comes out almost on its own, and I just happen to be there to facilitate it. They call it the muse. So you can call it whatever you want to. And the thing is, these things were good. I really liked them. They were good to me, not to the great art critics in New York City, not to established artists perhaps, but they were important to me. I wouldn't show them to a soul because they were so personal. So I kept them in this big black portfolio that I had left over from art school. And I call it Greg's Gallery. And every now and then they were just small 12, 9 by 12. Biggest I got was 15, 16 by 20. I just pull them out every now and then. It never occurred to me at any moment that anyone but me would be interested in such stuff. It was very, very satisfying, fulfilling. It still is today. I just show it to people now.
And what do you use for your doodles? Do you use markers, paint?
Originally, I hated paint for the longest time. It was kind of a hangover from art school. It was my enemy. I couldn't make it do what I wanted to. But I loved markers because they're very controllable. The problem with markers is they're also very static. So I learned over the time to treat markers like paint and began to get as close to a paint look as I could. I found out that once they ran out of ink, they became more like a pencil. So I keep all my dry ones. Uh, Yes, and so I kept it small and mobile. And so it's easy, quick. You just do it and then put it away, and you're done. You don't have to worry about anything. So that's the way it started out. Even when decided to do this and actually show it to people, it was primarily exclusively markers. I still love them today.
And you said that you were just tapping into something. Now that you tapped into it, where did your creativity go and grow from there?
There was a couple things that happened over time. A good close friend of mine acknowledged that they were really good. It's something I really respected, which kind of surprised me. And I would only pull them out and show them to certain people. Your normal person walking, let's say you're a truck driver or something, would look at my stuff and say, wow, this is the stuff that insane people do for therapy. It was not understandable to everybody. And it wasn't meant to be. So his input helped a lot. I gave him some, and his girlfriend wanted one. I started to think, is there something to this? Should it be shown? I never really thought about that. I mean, should I? It's too embarrassing. But I have three sons, and a couple of crazy things happened. One was if you could imagine all these really personal drawings. My middle son took like a dozen of them, and they're about inner angst, they're about depression, they're about anxiety, they're about just the shock of discovering who you really are, all this kind of deep personal stuff. He moves into an apartment with his girlfriend and puts them all on his wall. There's like 12 of them. And then they have an open house. And we're going to this open house. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was like being naked. And all these ordinary people looking at like, oh, that's really good. So one or two got it. The other rest of them were being polite. And the ones that got it, I connected with. So they're out there, you know. And I thought, what? I still didn't want to take it to any gallery. I just, no. Then a few years later, I really started doing this, and my sons really love them. My oldest son is basically pretty much my biggest fan, kind of like my agent in a way, pushes my art. He lives in Columbus, and he got in the galleries down there. But he put this one piece up. It's called Junkie Musings. Uh, it's very strange, very weird, very odd. And but technically it's really good. And he was dating an art student at the time, Columbus Institute of Arts, and she loved it. She loved it so much that he made a print made of it for her. And then I thought, well, an art student who understands, she's probably at the time of junior. If an art student likes this, not only just like it, she's not trying to be polite. She's passionately loves it. I thought, well, maybe I should put it out there. And so when I retired, it was really before a couple of years before I totally retired from my day job. I was doing them a lot. And so when it became time for me to actually try this I guess you call it an avocation. It's more than a hobby, less than a living. Once I began to understand, okay, I'm going to do this now that I'm retired and have the time and the energy and the luxury to be able to do these things, not have to worry about paying a rent with them. God help me. I'd be on the street right now. Now I'm going to put them out there and see what happens. So I got a lot of encouragement from my son, AJ, and we went down to Columbus, talked to galleries. I talked to some galleries here in Cleveland, and an online literary zine, bought three of them. So I started to become encouraged. I thought, well, maybe I do have a voice that can be heard. That's where I stand right now.
What was going through your head when you sold your first art piece?
It was surprise. It was joy. This lit zine is called Neon Door, and they didn't last very long, but I think they're still you can still find them online. They're beautiful online presence. Really, the graphics is amazing. They pay me $50 a piece for as long as just for the image, and for as long as they had it up there, they had the rights. And I've still got the originals and do with them whatever. But it was kind of like, holy shit, maybe is it possible that I'm legit? I still struggle with that. Many artists have imposter syndrome, and I'm not, I'm one of them. So, and especially when I see better work, what I realize is different is that it's just unique to me. That doesn't make it great technically all the time, although it does sometimes. But uh, it it it's a feeling there's a legitimacy there. So when they bought those three, and then not shortly after that, I had my first piece accepted into a show in 934 Gallery in Columbus. That's when I said, okay, I think might be somewhat of an artist.
Is there a time when you officially started calling yourself an artist?
I call myself an artist because I can't think of anything else. It's easier to say.
Mm.
Whether or not, sometimes I think my art should be lowercase a rather than uppercase a, but that's just the imposter syndrome again. When I was accepted into that gallery, I was willing to call myself that to an extent. I'm still willing to call myself that because, like I said, I can't think of another way to put it. I create images, but that's harder to say. I'm an image creator. That sounds almost pretentious. So yeah, I guess I'm an artist, and how seriously I should be taken by the bigger art world is up to interpretation of whoever's happens to be watching at the time.
Are all of your artworks in doodle form?
Yeah, almost entirely. I just approach an empty plane, be it paper or canvas, and let my hand go. Some of it's very contemplative, and some of I'll just do these very small, very intricate doodles, and I'll do them for hours, and I'll suddenly see something that goes in that direction. You'll see a lot of my work is that way. You see this one? Um, I just happen to have it here.
There you go.
That's doodling done with paint,
Okay.
and that's all. And that I realized I can do a body. This is a body, or this is a face, or this is a head, and comes that way. I did a series of archetypes, the 12 archetypes of Carl Jung. That was pre-sketched, and that was planned out and thought about. But most all my work, yeah, at least 95% is spontaneous, and when I see something that suggests itself in the middle of this, then I'll go in that direction, see where it takes me. Sometimes dead end, sometimes it comes becomes something that's really important to me.
And what are some obstacles that you face while doodling? Like, I mean, do you have obstacles or do you just
Yes.
let your hand go?
There, this is the part where it drives me nuts. I mean, all right, let's say I got this canvas. One thing I like about canvas is you can gesso it over and use it again if it sucks. And I'll latch on to an idea. I'll be in the middle of something and I'll see it. And it's going to be, oh, I got to go. I got to do this. And I follow it and I follow it. Then I get in the way and go, I do too much and I overdo it. It gets real busy and ugly and muddy. And oh God, it drives me insane. I had it and I lost it because I let my head get in the way. It's for me, it's got to be very instinctive. To me, I think a lot of artists would agree that there's hazard involved when you create, especially if you're doing a landscape or still life or something like that. You know what you're doing. You could botch it up, but it can be fixed. But when you're a creative artist, there are all kinds of obstacles that stop you from doing what you want to do the way you want to do it because it comes from someplace else. And we get in the way and too much color, too little color, too this, too that, not enough of this. And you have to start all over again. One thing I did learn I got to tell you, it's like a sort of like a death. These are your babies, and when you kill them, it's really really frustrating. But one thing I have found, one lesson I learned is when I do ruin it, and I do, I would say 60% of the time, I say, all right, let's really ruin it. Let's just destroy this damn thing. And that's when the really good stuff comes out. So a whole new painting or drawing emerges where it was dead before. As a matter of fact, one of these, it's called Soho. It's about five different paintings. And I started out as a Pollock thing with drip paint because it's a lot of fun. And when I do Pollock style things, I tend not to show them to anybody because it's too derivative. But I said, oh, screw this. This is Pollock would spit in my eye. And I cover it up with a different color, try again, do something else. About the fifth attempt, I said, oh my God, I covered it in red except for one little part. And then I saw it. So I got this red background. It's got all this texture all around it from all the previous paintings. And then an idea emerged, a face emerged out of that. So to me, it's a minefield. It's kind of it's filled with hazard. And I risk sounding pretentious or over dramatizing the process because it's a tragedy. It is to me because and I bet there are a lot of artists out there that agree. It's such a personal thing, and you want to do the best you can. And when you're thwarted, it's painful.
I see that you are part of the Ohio Art League. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's it's based out of Columbus, and I was when I did my gallery stroll, talking to different gallery owners, that was suggested I join that. And they have a spring and a fall show, and you can only enter it if you're part of the league, and they have all these opportunities during the course of the year to enter different shows. So I have several pieces in their exhibitions and special shows all around the Columbus area and in that general vicinity. If you're a member of it, you can have those opportunities and you get to see what other people of like mind have to show. Like this one I was in was on the campus uh, Columbus University, I believe it was, in this beautiful library that had its own gallery, and I got to see the joy of having my own work in there, but also all this other good stuff. And you can get to know the artists. They have Zoom meetings that you can talk with other artists. So it's really important to network. And that's a good opportunity, especially statewide. You can network locally, but statewide you get the real taste of all the artists out there.
Has there been an art piece that you have created that really shines in your memory?
Several. I mentioned all the directs that I produced. I don't show it to anybody. There's also some really good ones. Soul Hole, which I talked about, is really, really important to me. And there are others. One ended up in Ohio State Fair art exhibitions called Inner Space, which is, I don't know if you've seen 2001 in the space helmet and all the colors. Well, this shows a space helmet and it's got my doodles in the middle in color. That one was important because one called The Hair of Athena, which is all about the beauty of the mind rather than the nut. I'm not completely nuts. There's a beautiful aspect of my mind as well as it's true for everybody else. That was an image that wouldn't leave my head. It's almost exactly the way I envision it, which is very rare. So out of all of them, there's at least 10, I would say, that I consider to be at the risk of sounding pretentious masterpieces on my part. Yeah, I absolutely truly love. And you want that thing, and you're gonna have to pay. Like this guy here, just want to show you this. This is a redo of oh well, you can see it's a redo of a smaller one I did back in the 80s. It's called Ira. And it's you can see the doodle
Oh yeah.
aspect,
Yeah.
right? And that's about rage. You can't have that unless you got $1,500 because it's so not only is it personal, but I'm really proud of it from the standpoint of using the technique of doodling with training, understanding of anatomy, and trying to make it interesting. So I mean, I'm blowing out of my head. Kind of looks like a Egyptian statue in a way, but yeah. So that's what's important to me. Those types that use my technique, the thing, whatever training I had, and true inspiration, yeah, makes all the direct that I produce worth it. And I produce plenty of shit,
Yeah.
which you ain't seeing.
Are there any other creative people out there whom you think that we should keep an eye out for?
There are a lot of local artists that I'm affiliated with Stella's Art Gallery in Willoughby.
Mm.
There are artists out there that I really, really admire. And I would highly suggest that if you would wish to interview, there's one guy by the name of Randall Oldgrieve. He's graduated from Ohio State way back in the day. He's a sculptor, he's an artist, he's a muralist. He's just so good to other artists. And he's never really I don't believe he's gotten the recognition he deserves. He's in his 60s, and he's approached New York galleries with samples of his work. He's given me all kinds of support. He's just a good dude that just does what he wants. And he's managed somehow to make a living at it a little, but I think he deserves much more recognition than that. That's just to name one. There are many, many interesting. I had a piece in, oh, there's something called 78th Street Galleries in Cleveland. It's kind of, I would say it's the hub of creative arts in Cleveland now. It's a reconverted Sherwin-Williams warehouse, I believe. It's got all these different studios, galleries, and every third Friday, they open their doors and thousands of people come in and explore all this art that's going on. There's so many artists in there that are so brilliant. And I would look into the whole idea there. That's the hub. And that to me represents Cleveland arts that have never really gotten the recognition that they deserve, but it's teeming with brilliant artists.
Well, for you, Gregory, why is creativity important?
Uh, the creative urge to me is sacred. The need to create something that didn't exist before is very mysterious and it's miraculous. When you have that need, and everyone is creative. You're a creative. Everyone is creative. They just express that in different ways. I'll never forget the first time I saw watching football, the defense idea. Remember the D and then
Yeah, the
the white
fence.
picket fence?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And everybody uses it now. But who the hell thought of that? I think it was from a Dallas game way back in the 70s or something. Everyone is creative. You'd be amazed. Like people have contests for posters or whatnot, and these people that are plumbers or whatever come up with this really cool idea. So to answer that call is maybe our highest calling. Maybe I've called it food for the soul. So when we delve even deeper than just something like defense science, which is brilliant. But when we go deeper, especially creative artists rather than technical artists, artisans who play a huge role in our society. I mean, everywhere you look is art. Every art is absolutely everywhere in everything we do. Those are the artisans, the ones that create art from inside and follow that. To me, is a miraculous, sacred thing. And if you're able to answer that call, you're that's enough. If these things happen to sell too, holy shit, that's way beyond anything personally that I believe I deserve. I answer that call, and I found that certain people hear what I'm saying. There's no greater privilege as an artist than that.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. It's been an honor having you on the podcast. And for those in the audience who want to discover more about you and your artwork, where can they go?
Well, I have a website, www.gregoryalanart.com. That's Gregory Alan art.com. And I have prints and all those kind of things for sale. I also do blogs on that site. But my real representative of what I'm doing now is my Instagram account, which is Gregory Alan Art. Gregory Alan Art. and that I post everything that's current. So it seems to be more relevant because you always have to update your website. So I'm usually behind.
Well, awesome. I'll be leaving that website and your Instagram in the show notes. So for those who are listening, if you want to go check it out, I'll be leaving the links there so you can check out all the awesome work and blogs by our awesome guest today, Gregory Johnson. And to those in the audience, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please share so that others may also discover the awesome creativity by Gregory Johnson. So, Gregory, again, thank you so much for being a guest here on Creativity Worth Expressing.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.